Kia ora, Morena. I am Trina Cooper. I'm the General Manager for PARA. Just the housekeeping for this session is it is being recorded and will be made available on the PARA website. Just to note that your video image may be seen when we share the presentation on our website and social media. So if you don't want to be seen, then just do turn your screen off. We ask that you remain muted, and if you wish to ask a question, please use the chat function that you see at the bottom of your screen, and Sarah can see these during the session and address them, or we can just talk about those at the end as well. Today's pop-up chat is Sarah Horne from Routachment, and she is really passionate about breaking down the stigma that the fourth trimester is, how it's portrayed on Instagram and other social media. And it's something that requires planning, organisation and thought before conception and antenatally. And we're just going to start with karakia, so I will just share my screen and we can do that all together. Right, whakataka te hau ki te uru, whakataka te hau ki te tonga. Kia mā kina ki uta, kia mā taratara ki tai, he aki ana te atakura, he tio, he huka, he hohanga, te he Māori ora. Cease the winds from the west, cease the winds from the south, let the breeze blow over the land, let the breeze blow over the ocean, let the red tip dawn come with a sharpened ear, a touch of frost, a promise of a glorious day, which absolutely happened in Wellington today because it was 4 degrees, so it did promise to be a beautiful day. Now I'm going to hand over to Sarah, so if you'd like to share your screen and then you can introduce yourself.
Cool. Okay. So, morning everyone. I'm a little bit nervous, I'll be honest. I love face-to-face, but being able to touch a real person just makes all the difference. But yeah, so just excuse my nerves while I sort of find my zone and find my flow. Yeah, so just a bit about me. Obviously I'm not super computer savvy. Where are we? This one. So this is just a little bit about me. My background is in education. I was a high school teacher. I'm primary trained, and I taught visual arts and photography. And but my biggest thing was I always wanted to be a midwife. I had my first child when I was 19, and I was a single mum. So as you can imagine, the midwife hours and work that needs to be undertaken for that is not conducive to having a little person. So I went down the path of education. After 12 years, I went through a massive burnout and left the sector. I went and worked for my iwi down in Whakatoia, and that was great and a really good reset for me. And it also reignited my passion for looking at midwifery. So I decided to not go down the midwifery line purely because I found out I was pregnant. So I've got an 18-year age gap between my children. And yeah, it's been pretty massive, but it's also shown me how much of a need there is for postnatal support. I had the most amazing midwife with my little girl who's 2, called Zoe, and I just want to be like her when I grow up. She's phenomenal. And taught me so much and encouraged me to do some more training towards my postnatal education certification. So that's what I did. So yeah, there's just a little bit of background about me. So ripping straight into it. Let's find out where we are. So the fourth trimester. It's only really sort of become more of a thing in the last sort of 10 to 20 years. I mean, it's always existed, but the actual term, the fourth trimester, has only been used for about the last 10 to 20 years. Lots of people lay claim to it. The one that's sort of most prevalent and popular would be Dr. Harvey Karp. He talks about that quite a lot. So it is the 12 weeks, excuse me, the 12-week period immediately after you've had your baby, and every birthing person will go through it. It's a time of great physical and emotional change as your baby adjusts to being outside of the womb. And we sort of suggest that with the baby needing to adjust to be outside of the womb and you to adjust to baby not being inside you, that it takes those 12 weeks. That 12 weeks just to sort of get your head around what's happening and slow life down so that you can sort of find your feet and find your zone. I think it's really important to know that in the first year postpartum, a birthing person will lose 700 hours of sleep. So that's a huge amount of sleep to lose. I always think, imagine if that was a corporate workplace and the workplace knew that a man was about to go through something really, really big in his life and he's going to lose 700 hours of sleep. The CEO, the HR, his manager would put things in place to support that person, knowing that they were going to be going through something really, really massive. Yet we don't do it enough for our birthing parents. And I think that is quite sad. Also, the first 40 days following the birth of a baby can set up a birthing person for the next 40 years of their life. So if you are going into something highly stressed, wound up, just tensions being really, really high, it's almost like the tone that you set for the next 40 years of your life. Like we know that the first 1,000 days of a new baby is super important. The first 40 days for a new parent, a new birthing parent, is super important. Yes, I say it's super important for a first time parent, but it's actually important for any subsequent births as well. It could be particularly if your first time being a parent, so your first time going through the fourth trimester, was a really, really rough time and really unsettled and stressful. You might decide that you actually want to undo that. And there's so many things that you could do in the antenatal period to prep yourself and prep your village for that. Okay, I'm just trying to go to the next slide, obviously, but challenged there. Okay, so what is the mattress sense? Now, the mattress sense has been around for forever. It's like the adolescence, and it's also like menopause. And the term was only coined in 1973. Awesome, patriarchy. Thanks for that. So it's like a word that encapsulates but isn't limited to the changes in a birthing person's physiological, spiritual, social, economic positioning, psychological, neurological, and political development from maiden to mother. So it feels like a big deal because it is a big deal. Am I back on screen now? Okay, cool. I'll see if I can share it again soon. And I think it's super important during the mattress sense that we realise that it is a huge deal and it's not something to take lightly. Like when we know, say, a child is, say, 10, 11 sort of thing, we know they're coming up to puberty, to the starts of the adolescence, and we'll give them some more time and space, sort of making allowances for certain behaviours and actions, because we know that their brain is actually going through a massive transformation. We don't do that with the mattress sense. We expect that a person just picks up again where they left off, when in fact they've had the biggest download of information and an upgrade in pregnancy that they've had in their entire life. the brain scans that I've seen that show the brain matter that is lit up, obviously I don't know all the technical terms, but the brain the different parts of the brain that are lit up after birth, it is more and in a shorter time frame than the adolescence. So not only are we dealing with those changes within ourselves, but we're also learning to deal with a new human, one that sadly doesn't come with a manual. You know, like I know so many birthing parents, they're like, they get discharged from the midwife and they're like, now what? Who else is coming over to help? And yeah, it's quite heartbreaking to see them struggling and to be feeling really, really isolated in that time, when it really shouldn't be like that. So I'll just go back to that slide. Yeah, so it happens to everyone, but it's sort of like on a sliding scale to as how much you are affected by it, and you don't actually have any control over how much it affects you. Yeah, just stating again, it's bigger and it happens in a shorter time period than the adolescence or menopause. So the historical village in Western culture. I'll come back to that slide. And also Trina's going to make these slides available for you, so you can have them if you want them, and do what you want with them. I'm not bothered. So the historical village. So back in say my Mother's Day or her Mother's Day, we lived in closer proximity. Families lived and worked in closer proximity, so it wasn't abnormal for your mum and your aunties, your sisters, your cousins to be able to help you when you had a new baby, and in turn you would end up helping other people that are in your village as such, hence the term the village, because you had the capacity to, and you had your own learnings from your own experiences. And it's like each time someone went through the fourth trimester, you got more information, more downloads, and more as part of your skill set. For me, I have a lot of cousins. We're a bunch of breeders. So anytime someone had a baby in our family, I thought it was normal for everyone to go and be with that person for the first month, ensure meals were done, any other children were looked after, you know, like no one had any issues with folding, washing, stacking dishwashers, whatever else. So then fast forward to when I had my little girl Sailor, so that 18-year gap, and I'd moved away. My family is from Raglan, so not having my mum close by. My partner's mum is elderly, and so I mean she's amazing, but she doesn't live super close, and it's not easy for her to come to us. So I sort of wondered, like, how was I gonna get my village? And yeah, so I just realized that the massive change it's been from what the village was to what it is today. And now you really do have to almost construct your village and have some planning behind it. So I'll just go back to that screen. So also COVID has really thwarted a lot of people's postnatal plans, where they thought either their whānau from all over the motu could come and be with them, or their family are overseas, and they thought that COVID would hopefully have run its course by now, and we would be able to be, our families would be able to be together. So obviously that's not the case. You know, also from a financial point of view, quite often now, both parents, as in our, like say my parents, are still working. I know financially my parents aren't in the position yet to be able to retire. So, you know, like financially, they can't actually come and like down tools completely and come and support me. And I know that's like that for a lot of other people as well. Also, a lot of families say they can't, like our lifestyle now to sustain it often requires 2 incomes. And so we don't have, you know, just the one breadwinner as such. Being able to sort of supply the monetary positioning for that family, and then the other person to provide that nurturing, like that whole framework has almost been shattered. Also, with the introduction of social media, I feel that we've become a lot more insular and guarded, and can feel quite judged by other people, and play that whole game of comparison, where you're comparing yourself and your baby to whatever else is happening on social media. So yeah, and that just breaks my heart. Like I know of mums, and I'll see their stories on social media, let's say Instagram, and they're at the park with their baby, and their baby's in their front pack, and they just love like having a little coffee on the beach. Meanwhile, like yesterday, I was on the phone to them and they were completely losing it, just going, I feel like I've lost myself, I've lost my identity. I don't know even when the last time I was that I showered, and I feel selfish for wanting to have something for myself. And I'm like, well, why are you portraying something quite different on social media? Because as well, that stops people from realizing that you are struggling. You know, if you're portraying happy families, everything's just perfect, ducks are in a row, you know, everything's going super great, then no one knows that you're struggling. And I just find that it's so amazing, the people that do come out of the woodwork when you do say that you are struggling. Also, there is a massive focus on the hapu person. Yeah, absolutely, Trina. You know, we focus on that birthing person while they're pregnant. We look at them and we like just their beautiful curves, and they look glowing. They've got mermaid hair. You know, they're growing life, and it's amazing. And they've done so well when they birth the baby. But as soon as that baby's born, that focus shifts to the baby, and it's almost like, yes, that woman, that birthing person, has completed such an amazing task, and yet they're told, okay, cool, it's about the baby now. You can just jog on, lady, and carry on with life. If you could just stick to feeding and cooking and cleaning, that would be brilliant. And it's hideous. You know, so many first-time parents particularly speak about that isolation, having never been more surrounded by people, yet also never feeling more alone in their life. And I can completely appreciate that and understand that. It's almost like you're touched out. You've always got someone on you and with you, yet you feel so isolated and alone. So that's another really awesome reason to create connections antenatally with other people who are traveling that same season with you, so that when it comes to the postnatal, you have got that sort of village around. I always remember that there was like a little, I don't know if it's a meme sort of going on Facebook, where you feel like you're the only person in the world breastfeeding your baby at 3 o'clock in the morning. And it's so nice to get onto Messenger or something like that and see Trina is active, and, you know, like do a little, hey, breastfeeding selfie. You know, and to be with someone else who totally gets it and can like send you another one back, hey, you know, I'm feeding too. And it's just that little connection that just makes you feel, oh, I'm not the only person doing this. And I think that's really special. I'm just going back to another slide, apparently. Okay, so that's number 3. I just want to see if I've finished all my notes from that as well. Yep. So yeah, social media's portrayal of new parenthood. We've got to stop Pinterest parenting and trying to make parenting look like something it's not, because we're then perpetuating the problem of not discussing exactly how challenging the fourth trimester is. You know, things like momfluencers, in some case our friends, they are abusing their platform in order to sell you some sort of gadget or product that will help you to achieve this perfect baby. You know, I call BS on that. You know, that there's no such thing that is going to create a perfect baby. All that baby needs is love and milk and a place to sleep. Okay, and above all, that baby needs a healthy and well mother. You know, and we're always told, you know, we need to bounce back after having a baby. And I always think, bounce back to what? We've evolved. We know we've had an upgrade. Why would you want to go back? Why would you want to go back in time and revert when you've actually had a massive upgrade? It would be like going from a scooter to your nice V8 and then going, nah, I want to go back to being a scooter. That was way better. And you want to have that upgrade. I found throughout a couple of new mums groups that there was this real subtle competition as to like when your baby had held its head up by themselves, when your baby had smiled. And I don't recall that as much when I had Jackson, who's my oldest child. He's nearly 21, and I just don't recall that sort of competition. And so the only thing that has changed in that time is social media. So, you know, I'm very blanketly sort of blaming that as such, but I think it is a massive deal and something that we need to make sure we are following people that are real, following people that are truthful, and tell it like it is. And also realize that there is absolutely no gadget or product that is going to change who your baby is and what your baby is. It's so normal in the fourth trimester for that baby to want to be on you all the time. You are their home. You are where they feel that they belong, where they're connected, where they're so used to your sounds, your smells, everything about you. And you're the greatest source of joy because you supply the milk. And that literally brings all the babies to the yard. Okay, I'm going out of there. I'm back. What slide was I on? The focus in the fourth trimester needs to be on healing, bonding, sleeping, and learning to feed. People often don't realize how long breastfeeding takes to establish. It's a minimum of 6 weeks. And I always say to the new mums that I work with, it's a supply and demand situation. So the more you have baby on your breast is the more that the baby, you will make more milk. It's also, that's the time where you need to be checking in with your midwife or a lactation consultant and saying, am I doing this right? You know, people often have been told that they need to listen or look for certain things to make sure that their baby's feeding, but they're getting really sore, painful or cracked nipples. So that will mean that the latch isn't right. And it can take the tiniest little tips and tricks from a qualified breastfeeding coach or lactation consultant or your LMC just to change that entire game. I remember when I had Jackson, and because I was sort of 19, I didn't want to ask. I was embarrassed to ask for some help and support. And it was only when my mum got involved, God bless you, Val, that she got a lactation consultant to come in. And the first thing the lactation consultant did for me was made me take off my entire top half. And I was mortified. I was like, what? Why would you do that? And she tied my hair up in a top knot for me. And she said, this is the best way that you can see you can see and you can feel exactly what's going on. You don't have your hair to worry about. You can totally, exactly, you're so right, having skin to skin, and you can sort of, you learn the rhythm with your baby. And she always likened it to driving a car. And when you first get in a manual car, you know, you feel so awkward and weird, like you're not sure when to do the accelerator and the brake and the clutch, and when to indicate and when not to indicate. But you get better because you practice, and then it becomes innate and it becomes part of you and super, super natural. But, you know, you're not expected to jump in a car and know exactly how to drive. And the same thing goes with breastfeeding. So I think that's really important with your village, that they keep encouraging you to keep going with your breastfeeding journey, and to seek help if you need it. That's super, super important. Just making sure I've done my notes there. I'll just go back to that last screen. Okay, I'll just make sure I've covered all that. Yes, I think I have. So practical supports, antenatal planning. So creating antenatal connections as much and as often as you can. I always like that saying, every sock has a shoe. You might not find your people at pregnancy yoga. You might not find your people at a mums and bubs coffee group, but you might find your people at a return to exercise class, or a postnatal anxiety chat group. You just don't know where you're going to find your people and who your people will be. So I think making sure you put yourself in the position to meet those people is super important, whether it be antenatal classes or any sort of education classes. I'm all about. Huge fan of hypnobirthing. I love it, and I use those strategies in my life day to day. I did that workshop with Sailor, while I was pregnant with Sailor. Yeah, so anything that educates you and specifically targets you in this season and will help you establish your village. Another saying that's a favorite of mine is in the first 12 weeks, so in the fourth trimester, there should be no visitors, only staff. And what I mean by that is anyone that comes around needs to get it and needs to understand that the baby won't be woken for them, that they may not get a cuddle, that if they come around, please be bearing gifts. And by gifts, I mean food. You know, there's a lot to be said for someone making a meal for you. And I think because of sort of my cultural background and what is so normal for me, if I turned up somewhere, particularly with a new parent, and I hadn't brought a casserole, a pie, or a macaroni and cheese, my nonna and my nan and my mum, they'd all clip me around the ears still now. You know, you just don't turn up somewhere and not bring food. Yeah, so something that's really important there is if someone says to you, would you like me to organise a meal train? Then the correct response is yes, please. Yeah, it's really, really important. So yeah, we must make sure that the whole family is thriving. So what else did I have there? I know I had another point for that. It's gone from my brain. So just a thing about food in the postpartum. So I come from the background, or part of my study was in Ayurvedic practices. So it's really, really important to have food that is easy to digest. The postpartum, particularly the first 12 weeks, is not the time for salads and raw foods, because they're harder for your body to digest. Now you can think about what your body's been doing, and it's been growing a baby, and your organs are all over the show, and they're coming back and they're finding their space. Your digestive system is moving around, and that includes your bowels and stuff like that. So you want to make it as easy as possible to pass a bowel movement. So things like lots of yummy cooked food, like things that I always use the term warming foods. So casseroles, soupy foods, lots of sweet and easy to digest foods. You know, pasta bakes with yummy veggies in it. Curry, mild curries, anything that's creamy like that. Another thing you could give to a family, if you were thinking about a gift for them, would be to buy them a food subscription. So you know, if they are super tired, the last thing they're going to be wanting to think about is, what are we having for dinner tonight? And you know, buying them even just 1 week of say HelloFresh or whatever they're called, I don't know, could be an absolute game changer for them. I'll come back off there. So that was that one. Also, another thing was having a snack box. So this, because in the first 12 weeks, you're often just underneath a baby, carving yourself a little hole in that couch. And so it's super important that if you can't move and your partner or a village member isn't there right away, that you've got a box of easy to eat, so one-handed snacks that are dense in nutrition and can stop you getting hangry. Because if your baby's sleeping on you, which they 100% will be, you just want to wiggle down and have something in your puku so you're not hungry and you can go to sleep as well. Also having a couple of bottles of water, your lip balm, your creature comforts, and an extra long phone charger. So if someone says to me, what can I do for this for a birthing period? I'm like, create a snack box and get them little packets of nuts and make some bliss balls and do some savory muffins, get them a nice drink bottle and get their name decal on it, and you know, some reusable breast pads, you know, and a long phone charger, and put that all together. That will, like, if you got that in pregnancy, you're probably like, when am I going to use this? And then come that 4th trimester, you'll be like, aha, I get it, I understand, this is excellent. Yeah, and then that can be such a neat gift. And also that the birthing person can be like, oh, sweet, I know exactly what to get Fiona, who's due with their first baby in 3 months' time. So I'm going to get them one of those sort of boxes. Okay, I'll go to my next screen. So this is just talking about what your skill set is. You don't have to be everything that a village entails. That's the cool thing with a village. Like, you have your hunters, your gatherers, your cooks, your cleaners, your people that are amazing at childcare. You might have someone that tends to the animals, if we're going way back in the day. But just focusing in on what your skill set is. So how could you provide for that family going in the early postpartum, and also for the family who are going through it, if they're organising this in the antenatal period, they might sort of have a list of what are the things that I want and need, and who has the skill set to provide these. So if you're really mint at cooking, then maybe meals are something that you're going to make for the new family. And that is so rad. And yeah, just even if you just Google postpartum meals, so the Vedic practices and the sort of types of cooking that you might include are all there if you start Googling it. As a person who has allergies, so I've got celiac disease and I've got anaphylactic reaction to nuts, find out if that person, say, is vegetarian or has any allergies or preferences. I know my ex-husband used to tell people that he was allergic to cilantro because he hated it that much. So, but he'd actually tell people in restaurants that he was allergic to it. He wasn't. He just thought it made everything taste like soap. So there'd be nothing worse than, you know, sitting down to a meal that somebody's made for you and going, choice, I can't even eat it because it's got meat in it and I'm vegetarian, or I hate coriander, or so on and so forth. So yeah, that's something there. So maybe you're an empathetic and amazing listener, so you could pop around for a chat at some stage. And I really want to emphasize that the listener part, sometimes all a new parent needs is to be heard, and you can just be there and be the sounding board for them, just to say, holy heck, this is so much harder than I thought it was. Is this normal? Should I feel like this? So on and so forth. So if you know that you've got a friend who's just the best listener ever, and I know someone is probably coming to mind for all of you, that you're like, that's my person I go to when I need to download, then that's the person that might come around to that new family and be the sounding board. So if you have a dog, and maybe you could pick up theirs and take it for a walk for a few times a week. As a new parent, if you've got an animal, that's such a bane to have to go and walk a dog all the time. If they have a toddler, and you might have one of those mini terrorists as well, and you can take the two mini terrorists out, and even the dog if you're feeling crazy, and get them all tired, or take them home and give them a bath and a feed, and then bring them back sort of ready for bed and tired and in their PJs. Man, that would be such a game changer for a new family. If you've got a few hours midweek to sort of do that midweek grocery shop, so I'm talking about sort of your milk, eggs, bread, coffee, just those few basic things that you always seem to run out of, say Wednesday in the morning, and you go to make a coffee and you're like, damn, there's no milk. That sucks. Just dropping over a few essentials for a new family can be so awesome. Sometimes, particularly early on, that new mum's going, how the heck am I ever going to get out of the house again? So knowing that they have a few supplies just being dropped off can be brilliant. Popping over and just saying that you're going to clean the house. So if there's a quiet space where mum can take the baby and have a nap, and you just whip around and do a vacuum, mop the floors, stack the dishwasher, fold some clothes, and then take off again. Again, massive game changer. And part of this talk is I speak about the village so much. Some might say I bang on about it, but unless you know how to go about it and how to be part of the village, then it's kind of just a term, and it has no real meaning for you. So yeah, that's what I meant there. Hello again. So what slide was that? 6? Cool. So just in speaking to a few things on that, the tribe or the village needs to enact the postpartum plan for the birthing parent. Like, it shouldn't be initiated by the birthing parent. That's the whole village should be looking after them in that time. That village, they're the guardians of the birthing parent, and they almost protect them and look after them so that they don't have to deal with the outside world, because they're already dealing with a lot. They're like a buffer to the outside world. And I always think about, it's almost like that you keep the birthing person in a nest, and you look after them and you protect them until they're ready to leave the nest. But yeah, that's part of being the village there. Did I have another point there? I think I covered that. I'm just going to go back and share another screen. Only a few more to go, guys. You're doing well. So relationship changes and emotional labor. I don't know how many times I've heard new parents going, oh my gosh, we thought this would really help our relationship, but having a baby has made it so much harder. Yeah, freaking heck it does. And it's so something that needs to be discussed antenatally, even before you're pregnant. What are your expectations of me as the birthing parent? What are you sort of expecting my responsibilities to be? And it might be that they've got some, long-held beliefs about what they've seen previously in the, say, for their parents' generation, like that their mother was an at-home caregiver and was quite happy to do that. But maybe that's not what you're about, but it's really important to have these changes. Another big one is empowering your partner. He or she is the new kid on the block too. And even if they're not lactating, they can do everything else other than breastfeed. And, you know, you'll make your job a whole lot more harder by not letting them find their way. I'll just give you a little anecdote. Sailor is Ricky's first baby, so my partner, and he really wanted to be able to change her nappy, and I was like, yeah, okay, cool, rock on. And he'd seen me do it a few times, so I thought, okay, he's got this. He in fact didn't have it. He comes back in about 20 minutes later, and he's like, oh babe, those tabs at the back are a real bitch, eh? And I was like, what do you mean the tabs at the back? And I went and had a look at Sailor, and she had like a baby G-string on, because he just struggled so much to find his way of doing things. So I just quietly just said to him, oh babe, you know, like the tabs go at the front. But from then on, he's got it. He learned from that. And I'm not trying to sound patronizing, but as a first-time parent, he didn't know. He'd never ever changed a nappy before, so he had to find his own way of doing it. And, you know, he's a pro at it now. He can do it one-handed. Now Sailor's toilet trained, but, you know, he's got it on lock. So, but when he was starting and learning how to do things, I'd leave the room, because I know he felt like I was watching him and sort of checking out what he did. And even though I was trying so hard to act chill about it, I obviously was not giving out the chill vibe. And he was pretty much saying, you know, can you just go so I can do my thing? Yeah. So it's, yeah, as it says there, this is only going to lead you towards the path of martyrdom. And, you know, no one gives you a trophy for doing all the work. You know, you need to be able to share that load and be each other's biggest cheerleaders, make them feel seen and so appreciated. We had to have those awkward chats as well, where I was saying, can you just tell me that I'm a good mum? Can you tell me that I'm doing a good job? Because in his mind, he just thought I knew, because I'd been a mum before. He thought I knew that I was good at this job. But all I needed for him to say was, oh, I'm real proud of you, or I'm so stoked that we're doing this together. And that just filled my tank so freaking much. With your relationship, you're laying down your family's foundation. So you've also got to start looking for small moments of connection and just checking in with your partner. It's a real shift from sort of that romantic love to mature love, where you're not just, it's not roses and, you know, romantic nights and champagne on the beach. You know, it's looking at how can I make this person feel valued and feel loved, and still connected to. And so it's finding out what your partner's love language is, and how you give and how you receive love can be quite different. You can just Google love languages and do a quiz together. I think it should be compulsory, just to find out how that person gives love and how they receive love. It was a real game changer for us. So some topics to discuss antenatally. How are you going to manage sleep deprivation? Is your partner going to be bringing baby to you for feeds in the night? Are you going to be prioritizing naps during the day? Because you should. How is your division of labor going to look like? Is your partner going to be in charge of all the washing and the cooking, and so on and so forth? Or how is that task going to be assigned to another village member? Relationship maintenance, that just goes back to connection and checking in, not assuming. So not assuming that person is completely fine with how things are. And sometimes, you know, it's going to feel like, is this how we are for forever? And I think it's really important to know that the fourth trimester is a season, and like all seasons, it's going to change. It's not going to be like that for forever. What else was I saying? I think that was it on that part. Oh, connection, sex. a lot of people think that once you get to that 6-week mark and you've been cleared by your LMC or your GP, that or you finish your postpartum bleeding, that's fine to have sex again. That's absolutely not the case. I think you'll find most females need far more of a head connection to initiate a physical connection. So sometimes you need to find out what it is. How do you feel connected to your partner? Is it massage? Is it words? Is it just spending some time cuddling together? You know, that removing that need that you might have sort of put on yourself to have sex, and just keep those communication lines really, really open. Financial planning is another thing that people in relationships should have big chats about. What is it going to look like for your family? Is there things that you could scale back on? Do you need that gadget or that particular product for a newborn baby? You know, always go back to when people are doing baby showers and things like that. What baby needs shoes? Why do you buy a baby shoes? I really just find that really hard to understand. You know, you can see these little like sort of $100 shoes for a newborn baby. Why? Yeah. So that's always been something that bothers me. And I always think, you know, if they just scaled back on the shoes or the tutus or the Jamie Kay headbands, then maybe they would have been able to pay for a cleaner or, you know, some professional support or some relationship counselling. Like I 100% think you should be having relationship counselling sessions before you even think about conception, to discuss this and get it all out in the open and not just assume that it's just going to flow together perfectly, because spoiler alert, it's not going to. Okay, I'm going to go back and share another screen because I am chatty Kathy today. Agencies for support. More and more I feel like we need to be the fence at the top of the cliff rather than the ambulance at the bottom, trying to pick up all of those broken pieces. It's really, really, it's a really, really hard place to be, because once you know, are getting referred through to, you know, into the system as such, like say to maternal mental health, you're often, there's a lot of pieces that have come undone by then. And if you can pick up on things that are happening antenatally and start being the squeaky wheel, then quite often you won't need to have that ambulance at the bottom of the cliff. You already have that support plan in place. Yeah, perhaps foregoing some gadgets or contraceptions, contraptions, and searching for some secondhand or borrowed gear and investing those funds that you've saved into professional support. You know, normalizing getting support and help in the 4th trimester, not just having to go it alone. I know one person I spoke with got secondhand cot, pram, I can't even remember what else, but you know, like the Kmart baby bath rather than the snuggle bath, and so they were able to actually pull those funds, and for the baby shower they asked if anyone wants to contribute to it, then this is the account, and we wanted to get a postpartum doula because that was really important to them. They had a history you know, of struggling with different things, and it was their first child and a very much wanted child, so they wanted to actually enjoy it. And they knew for them, a postpartum doula could help them with that. So yeah, so that just leads on to our baby showers. Let's encourage support, not stuff. You know, dividing up the cost of getting a professional in rather than baby outfits. And yeah, I've said there, I need to ask what baby needs shoes. It's obviously quite a big issue for me. I'm working through that myself. What am I doing? Let's look and make sure I've covered all my points. So this is, I don't know if you know of Dr. Oscar Celerach. He's an amazing Australian doctor that, one more time, that specialises in postpartum depletion and how common it is. So he is trying to get these 3 things underway. Deep rest for 1 month. Deep support for the first 100 days, and deep priority on sleep for 1 year, and how much that could actually change the way that fourth trimester looks for people. Sleep really affects postnatal depression and postnatal anxiety. That's been proven time and time again. There's a reason why sleep deprivation is a form of torture, because it is. And it just, after a while, it makes you think and feel things that you wouldn't normally think and feel. Going back to the fact that a new birthing parent will lose 700 hours approximately of sleep in the first year. That's a lot of time. Okay, so my final slide. You've done well. Unpacking of your birth stories and birth trauma. So really, really early, after you've had your baby, I always encourage the new mums I work with to write your birth story. That doesn't mean that they've been through birth trauma or anything else like that, but just unpacking that story at some stage quite early on and getting the voice of other people who were at the birth as well can sometimes help put those missing pieces of the postpartum puzzle together. It's always something that I say, either do it like you can do voice notes onto your phone, or just write some bullet points when you've got time and you can pad them out later, pass that document to whoever else was there at your birth, and get them to add sort of their notes and stuff to it. Something there, when I'm talking about unpacking the birth stories, I try and use SMART goals. So when we're unpacking it more, so specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time bound. So that just sort of tightens it all up, because otherwise you can sort of go into lots and lots of tangents there. With that, self-care. Self-care isn't, in the early postpartum, isn't a day at the spa, getting your nails done, your hair done, your eyelashes, and having a full body massage. And it doesn't need to mean long periods away from home and away from your new baby. It's finding time and prioritizing whatever it is that fills your cup. If that's putting on a podcast and going for a walk with your baby, make sure you do it every day. If that's having a shower uninterrupted for 20 minutes, make it a priority, make it happen, schedule it in. If that's going for a run, or if that's having 15 minutes to debrief with your partner every single day, schedule it in. If it's part of our work, we make sure it happens. Like, you guys all obviously knew that this was happening today, so you scheduled it in, which is rad. And we've got to start that same sort of thinking for the postpartum. So I guess my final comment would be, when you nurture the mother, you nurture the whānau, who raise up strong villages that contribute to strong communities. And the birthing parent is such a pillar of the community. If we look after them, not only are we setting them up for success, we're actually setting up the babies that they have birthed and the people that are connected to them up for success as well. So that's the end of my slides. I see there's some chat going on there, and I saw a few questions pop up, but I wasn't clever enough to read them in detail. Sorry, I'll have a look at those. Cool. Anything else, Trina? So yes, the Asian culture, yes, 100%. Making sure you eat and drink warm food for the first 30 days, 100%. Great gift idea, Sarah. Yes, thanks. Some of my clients say they have no one else as a partner. Yeah, totally. So sad. Oh, I'm interested in the link that you sent, Trina.
Yeah, that's a book that Oscar Sellerich has written as well. So yeah,
good work.
Quite a well-known guy, which is excellent. Yeah, has anyone else got any other questions that they want to ask Sarah? We've got 5 minutes before we wrap up, so now's the time. Feel free to unmute if you've got something to ask, or you can just type it in the chat. That's true, Gretchen. Fabulous info. Thanks, Sarah. Simple but so effective. I think you've really just narrowed it down to the basics, haven't you?
And it is the basics. Like it's our basic needs that we've tried to overcomplicate and made it way more complicated than it needs to be. Just keep it simple. Go with that kiss analogy. You know, keep it simple, stupid. Keep it simple, Sarah.
That's a good one. Fiona's asking where you're located.
Sorry, what was that?
Where are you located?
Right now? No. I'm located in the Bay of Plenty in Papamoa. But I work all over Tauranga and the surrounding districts such as Paengaroa, Katikati. Yeah.
And would you do Zoom work with people if they are based outside of the Bay of Plenty, if anyone's interested?
Yeah, I've had clients in Whangarei, Orewa, down the South Island, and work with them remotely, usually via WhatsApp. I found that really, really effective. I really like the fact that you can lock a voice note on WhatsApp and just have a big old yarn and send it off, whereas like Messenger and a few of the other apps, you have to only speak for 1 minute. And obviously, I really struggle to speak for 1 minute.
To talk very quickly, yeah. So, Reese, have you got anything that you'd like to ask? You were on your 4th baby, I understand.
Wow.
Sorry, I'm.
Oops, you're frozen.
Make sure that I don't sort of go down the same path, but I don't know why I've frozen. Sorry.
That's all right. We can hear you.
I don't like that though. Hold on. Yeah, no, really good content. Thanks, Sarah. It is about just gathering the people and sort of who do I ask, and I'm on my own, so it's I kind of know who I'll go to, but yeah, it's just gathering the people.
Yeah, totally. And, you know, I don't know what area you're in, but engaging with someone who can help you to create that village, you know, like
I'm in Orewa. So
right. Yeah, okay. So like sorry.
I'm part of a church. I've got a really nice elderly friend. She's 78 and she's going to be my at this point she's just going to be there because, you know, she's so little, she won't be able to hold me up or anything, but she's just going to be there for support. So I'm really just doing all of that by myself, but I might ask her if she can if she can get together with people and sort of get an idea of where I'm coming from this time around.
Absolutely. And getting your church on board. You know, like they will even have a template for making a meal train.
Well, they do, and they've actually been in touch with me already, and I've said, well, I don't want to eat meat for that period of time. I also have an Ayurvedic background, so it's sort of like, I've got all these tools, I know it all, but it's just not having the people, like, you know, just the people.
Yeah, totally. And this is the time that you can't shy away from when someone offers to help you. You know, your only reply is yes, please. You know, like you're not putting anyone out. The people that offer are genuine and they really do want to support you. So that's all I would really encourage you to say yes and because I know
I never have any trouble. You know, I was raised to not look a gift horse in the mouth, but it's just not really. But no, the church has already gotten in touch with me to talk about the first week of meals and that. But that snack box sounded really good, and I'm already sorting out my drawers by the bed. You know, everything that's just going to be in arm's reach.
Good work. Yeah, absolutely. And reach out. You know, I'll make these slides available, but if there's something else you need a little bit of extra support, well, send me a message. You know, like, I do this job not because it's making me a hell of a lot of money. It's because I'm so passionate about it, and I've seen the village save lives. It's super important.
I just love what you're sort of talking about, and it just because my goal is to study social work in the future for mental health and addictions.
Massive.
will be from my own, background and the things I've gone through. So I'm on the other side of a lot of that, but just wanting to do more of the kind of doula support as well. And
fantastic.
Mm.
Absolutely. And the skills that you learn now, because you've learned them firsthand, are going to be applied to when you actually come to that season of your life, when you are working alongside women, because you'll know the reasons why.
I've had to rebuild my life, so it's kind of like, well, you can either do these steps or you can rebuild your life later on down the track and your family and everything like that. So I've seen worst case scenario.
You're going to do it, girlfriend.
Yeah.
So thanks, Therese, for sharing your story. Teresa is a lactation consultant based in Orewa as well. So she's offered some support there, so I can connect the two of you up later on as well. We need to wrap up, so we will just say a huge, huge thank you, Sarah. That was just such a beautiful presentation. Cool. Like you said, you've just brought it back to those basic, simple things that we all forget because we're all just too sort of big picture things. Let's just bring it back down to those small things and just focus on getting the mum to have that lovely attachment with her baby, and the dad too.
For sure. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's great. So go well, everyone. Thank you so much, Sarah.
Thank you for having me.
You are welcome. Thank you so much.
Cool.
Thanks.